Hi there everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome to this 1500 point Tempest war game between the forces of the Imperial Guard and Hive Fleet Kraken. We join a battered and strife-ridden corner of the Imperium where some of Cadia's finest sons and daughters stand ready to receive the charge from the bioterrors of the Tyrannid Hive Fleets. In today's Tempest of War game, we have a Dawn of War deployment style, so long table edges. Our mission rule will be Vox static, and then the primary is direct assault. So 4 VP for having 1, 2, and more objective markers than your opponent. And then in each battle round, you get 2 points if you control one objective marker that you didn't at the start of your turn, or destroyed an enemy unit that was in range of an objective marker, or 3 points if both of those are satisfied. On the table, we see that the armies are already presented and laid out ready to do battle. In terms of terrain, what you see is what you get. For the craters, will be acting as craters, 3 of them and 3 kind of the table quarters. All the ruins will act as ruins, so obscuring if they are 5 inches or taller. And then right here in this middle, just to try to give the melee-focused Tyranids a little bit more cover, I'm going to have this big kind of square of ruins be completely impassable. So completely blocks line of sight, nothing can go through it, nothing can go on top of it. Just kind of a gigantic brick in the middle to help prevent just this being a shooting gallery for the guns of the Imperial Guard. In terms of objective markers, the Cadians' home field objective marker is here, being held down by the command squad and some of the infantry. Then along no man's land, we have this one, kind of out in the open, a second out in the open, and then finally swinging around towards the Nids. This third one protected with the Tyranids, so might need them to hang back, but it is going to be protected. And then the Tyranids' home objective marker is being held down by the warriors, and a lictor in the back. Getting into army list, we'll start with the fresh new codex for the Imperial Guard. We're looking at a battalion, 1500 points on the nose. Since Cadian, Catachan, Mordian, all those pre-existing worlds aren't a thing in the new book, our doctrine today is going to be heirloom weapons and elite sharpshooters. So definitely going heavy into shooting. So that's going to be a +4 inches on our ranged shots. And elite sharpshooters is 1 hit reroll in shooting for each unit. So the plasma gunners in the squads where plasma is available is probably going to eat up those when available. In terms of HQs, we have 3 HQ. We have a tank commander with a demolisher and armored tracks. Other than that, what you see is what you get. He also keeps the las cannon in his hull. We're going to have our Cadian command squad on the home objective with what you see is what you get. So regimental standard, plasma pistol, power sword on the character in that unit, Metapack, Master Vox, and a plasma gunner. The Cadian command squad's also going to have the relic for today, the Death Mask of Olaunius, for a 4-up invuln for the entire squad. So between that and the medic, hopefully they will continue to survive even if the plasma gunner blows himself up once or twice. And I have been plugging away at the new Cadia Stands box set for the Imperial Guard. So starting to get some of those new models on the table there, with the new fancy flag of the Acadian 317th. And then finally for our Warlord, it will be a Acadian Castellan with Las Pistol and the Warlord trait of Grand Strategist. So 5-up CP regen. Hopefully that does a little bit more than it did in my last game with the Guard. For the meat and potatoes of the Acadian Guardsman, we have 6 infantry squads scattered throughout the table. 3 of them are going to have a plasma gun and las cannon like so. So if they have a las cannon, they'll also have a plasma gunner. And 3 of them have a missile launcher and grenade launcher in them, like this one that is going to start off the game in a Chimera. So we have 3 and 3 each. The missile and grenade launcher squads are going to be in our 3 Chimera. 1 here, 1 here, and then 1 all the way over on this flank. And they all also have a Voxcaster in each squad to allow some better range for our commands. In our elites, we have a... I'm just trying to find where he is on the table. Where is he? We have a Commissar, there he is, with Plasma Pistol and Power Sword. So, thought I put him in one of the Chimeras. I did not. He is boots on the ground right now. And we also have a pair of Tech Priest Engine Seers ready to keep fixing up some of the Chimera or the tanks. In Fast Attack, we have 2 separate units of Scout Sentinels, both with the Heavy Flamer. In Heavy Support, I have a Field Ordnance Battery with the Bombast guns, so some indirect shooting if needed. And then finally a single Leman Russ with Plasma Turret and Triple Plasma on the hull. And then, as was shown earlier, we have 3 Chimera with the multi-laser. They also all have armored tracks and dozer blades. We have 3 squads of infantry in those, and nobody in reserve. So that is the units, the force of the Imperium. Now let's take a look at the forces of the Hive Fleet that seek to consume them. For the forces of Hive Fleet Kraken, I'm going to keep with the adaptive biology for Hive Fleet Kraken, so that's D3 plus 3 on my advances instead of just the regular D6. We also have a battalion, and we're coming in at 1495 points. The Warlord today is going to be a Winged Hive Tyrant with Adrenal Glands, Lash Whip, Bone Sword, and he is going to have the Warlord trait of Adaptive Biology, so a 5-up Feel No Pain. In our other HQs, we have a Tervigon behind her brood of Termagants, and she's going to know Catalyst to try to keep her babies alive. And rounding it out is going to be the Neurothrope with Psychic Scream and Paroxysm. The not Warlord trait, the Relic is also going to be on the Tervigon with Chameleonic Mutation, so -1 to be shot and no re-rolling, I believe, hits to shoot her. Then in the troops, we have a 20-man squad of Hormagaunts, a 3-man squad of Tyrannid Warriors on the home field objective with Lash Whip Bone Sword. We have the 20 Termagants with Flesh Borers. We have a 10-man squad of Gargoyles to round out troops. In elites, we have the Lictor, as already stated, hanging out on the home field objective, as well as a Harusvex, who is going to try to charge forward and take this flank for the Hive Mind. We've also got the Exocrine, and then finally for the forces of the Hive Fleet, we have a 3 base Ripper Swarm in Deep Strike Reserve, ready to pop up, maybe on an objective, maybe in the back to cause some issues for the Guardsman. But other than that, kind of a mix of a couple big swarms and some monster mash. So we will have to see which is able to prevail in today's battle. With the army lists out of the way, we should be ready to go. Just a few final things. Both sides are going to be starting on 12 CP. No pregame stats or extra warlord traits or relics. And we're still going to be using the Warzone Nockman, so starting up at 12 for this level and gaining ACP only on our turns, not using Nephilim. But other than that, we are ready to go to the roll-off. So red die is going to be the Nids, green die is going to be the Guard. And it looks like it is going to be turn 1 for the Imperial Guard as we start today's battle. And we begin with the voices of the Imperial officers ringing out as we start battle round 1. For secondaries, we did remain at 12 CP to get rid of Deploy Teleport Homer. We still have Area Denial, Secure No Man's Land, and No Prisoners active for the Imperial Guard. So other than Area Denial, which the Tyranids will probably be able to get if they hug this no man's land block of terrain, we should be able to get our secondaries. Also misread how Scout Sentinels work in the new book, so they actually would have deployed here at the start of the game, since they are allowed to be deployed anywhere and not have a scout move anymore. So that is where they would have started the game. In terms of actual orders, the the command squad has issued take aim to the field ordnance battery and the infantry squad that is next to them. Tank commander issued gunner's kill on sight to the tank that is right next to him, and the commissar has ordered his squad forwards for the emperor, while the Cadian Castellan back here has also issued take aim to the squad that is next to him. Those are all of the orders and the secondaries drawn. So we're going to go through the movement phase and come back as the guns of the Imperial Guard start to bark out against the teeming hordes of Nids. Here we are at the start of the shooting phase with the Imperial Guard, and between the Scout Sentinel that started the game on this objective marker and the quadruple plasma Lehman Russ that has moved on to this one, we have in fact secured no man's land. So now it is just a matter of trying to hold on and take as many bugs down with us as possible. One of the other Scout Sentinels did move on up to start taking some shots at the vile masses of bugs, while the rest of us just moved on up. This infantry squad was not able to advance quite far enough to get onto this objective, so we just hung back a little bit and are taking some cover in this crater, but we still have some good shots, hopefully, while the synaptic imperative of the Tyranids is surging vitality, so hoping to retake the center of the board if possible after the shooting is done from the Imperial Guard. And speaking of the guns of the Imperial Guard, we're going to start shooting with the Field Ordnance Battery firing its bombast guns into this 10-man squad of gargoyles. Ended up getting 7 shots thanks to the blast. So we are going to be hitting on 3s thanks to the regimental order. And with only 2 misses, we'll use our once per unit reroll to get a 6th hit. Then strength 7 into toughness 3, so essentially these are going to be 2s to kill. So that'll be 6 dead, since AP 2 goes to AP minus 3 with take aim. And even if they were getting cover, that would definitely be a good chunk of them gone. Next up, we're going to try to finish off the rest of those gargoyles with the heavy flamer on the Scout Sentinel. So D6 shots will be 5, 4, 5 automatic hits. And then strength 5, toughness 3, so 3s to kill. Will be 3 1s, but 2 more will be taken out. Getting us 2 more tallies off, or 4, no prisoner. And then essentially taking that unit off the board mostly. Next up on this flank, the last unit that can see is going to be this Chimera. And we just took it so that the last 2 gargoyles are safe from any more shooting. So we are going to fire everything that this has into the termagants, who we can just kind of squeak out a good view of between the corner of this impassable ruin and the Scout Sentinel. So we're going to start off with the las gun array, which is going to be rapid fire 6. Kind of cool that we don't need anybody in here anymore to actually fire the las gun array. And then strength 3 will be 2 wounds. 5 up save, no AP. So we will have some armor saves. Make 1, fail 1, so that'll be 1 termagant taken from the las gun. Next up with the heavy bolter, we have a 3, 5, and a 4. Then wounding on 3s, nothing there. And then finally the multi-laser. Saved the reroll, but didn't need it. And then strength 6, wounding on 2s. Of course, we have triple 1s on the wounds, where we can't do anything. And minus 1 AP will go to a 6 up. And that's a 5, so that will be a total of 2 taken off of the termagants. So definitely not as many as we would have liked, but chipping away. This squad of Imperial Guard actually does have a shot that they can take. The las cannon in the very back can just snake his way through and see the winged Hive Tyrant. And with 52 inches worth of range, we are definitely within line of sight and range. So we will be hitting on a 3. And then wounding on a 3 to go against the Hive Tyrant's 4-up invuln save. And a 3, while we only have, or while CP reroll is 2 CP, I think we will try to avoid a las cannon coming into the Imperium's, or the Hive Tyrant's face so quickly, so 2 CP spent to fail to save. And then D6 damage will be a big 6 on damage from this lowly las cannon. So we have already taken some wounds off the Warlord Hive Tyrant, and that's before we even got to the tanks. Next up for shooting, we're going to start off with this Leman Russ tank up here, and we are going to overcharge and try to burn the Hive Tyrant out of the sky. So we're going to overcharge everything that we've got. So we're going to start off with D6 shots from the turret weapon. So we have 8 shots on the turret, and then 3d3 from the hull mounted. So for a total of 4 shots from the hull mounted plasma. Starting off with the Executioner plasma cannon, we're going to be hitting on 4s, re-rolling our 1s. Alright, no 1s to re-roll. And we'll use our once per unit re-roll here for a total of 6 hits. Strength 8, toughness 7. So 3 wounds at the 4-up invuln. Make 2, fail 1. So that'll be 3 more damage on the Hive Tyrant. And the 4 Militarum plasma cannons on the hull. Alright, so we got away completely clean of doing any wounds to ourselves. And a 3, a 2, and a 4. So 2 wounds at the 4-up invuln. Make 1, fail 1. So that is going to be another 2 damage taken. So 5 damage going through from that 1 tank. Bring him down to 1. So kind of weird when a quadruple plasma Leman Russ does less damage than an infantry squad, but that's the Guard. Next up is the tank commander. Unfortunately, we cannot see the winged Hive Tyrant, so what the tank commander is going to do is he is going to pound everything that he's got right over here into the warriors, trying to loosen their hold on the home field objective or make something more tangible or more threatening have to stay back and not threaten us in melee. So we are going to start with the Demolisher, and this is going to be D6 shots into the warriors for 6 shots. So for 6 shots, hitting on 3s thanks to it being a turret weapon. Yep, and I also forgot turret weapon rule for the plasma, but don't think it particularly mattered there. So on 3s, we'll save our reroll for our las. Strength 10 into the warriors will be 4 wounds, just double checking they are toughness 5. And strength, or -3 AP, will in cover essentially go down to -2, so they will have 6-up saves and make none of those. And each warrior has 3 wounds, so with D3 plus 3 wounds each, that will just be the warriors taken off the field. Then the infantry squad next to the tanks is going to fire fully into the Lictor, overcharging the plasma. Everything that is in range is going to fire out into them, so we'll do their shots and come back to you with the results or the saves. Scratch that with the chameleonic skin rule for the Lictor. Nothing can target him if he's more than 12 inches away and in cover, so he is safe from probably all the shooting, save that Scout Sentinel, who will hopefully be dead after the Tyranids turn 1 regardless. So they actually do not have any shots here. So what we're going to move on to do is we are going to move on to this Chimera, and we're going to see if this Chimera can be the hero we know he can be to take out the Hive Tyrant. Measuring it up, we are in rapid fire range thanks to the +4 inches of our regimental doctrine. So on 4s, and then on 6s, nothing there, but we do still have the heavy bolter. Nothing there. We'll use our reroll here since we're trying to have, or the heavy bolter is probably going to be the best one to take him down. And then heavy bolter is strength 5, so still only on 5s. Make one, fail one, -1 AP. We'll go to our 4-up. Makes it on a 5 for the Hive Tyrant. And then finally the multi-laser will be hitting on a 3 since it's the turret weapon. And then strength 6, toughness 7, so 5s, nothing there. So unfortunately, that's going to do it for the Chimera. And then our final shots will have to be with this squad of infantrymen. Everything they've got going into the Winged Hive Tyrant. It's our last shots with the Cadians before we go and end the turn with scoring. And again, it looks like it's going to be a single las cannon that can reach out and shoot the Hive Tyrant. So they did take aim. So we are hitting on a 3, wounding on a 3, and then AP doesn't matter. He has a 4-up. So it's going to be a 4-up or the Hive Tyrant goes down. And with a 5-up, the Hive Tyrant stays alive. Before we go to the end of the turn, we're going to just see if we can do a long bomb charge with the Scout Sentinel into the remaining gargoyles. Needing a 9, and on a 3, definitely not getting it. So, not particularly worried about that, but might as well try. So, going to score up the guard, we are working on area denial, which I just am reading that it can't be done in the first turn anyway, so let's say we were supposed to assassinate. And that would have made sense why we were going so hard into the Hive Tyrant. But still didn't get it. Secure no man's land, we are going to score, and we currently have 17 on no prisoners. And with us being a shooting army and hopefully the hordes rushing up towards us, we should hopefully be able to get that next turn. Assassination usually wouldn't be too bad, but I think we actually will be able to get that sooner rather than later, unless the Hive Tyrant chooses to hide in this next turn, which we're okay with. So we will keep those, bringing it up to a total of 7, since we did control 1 more objective than we didn't. So getting 2 on primary and 5 on secondary. So it's going to be 7 points in our first turn for the guard. And then we will go on to the Tyranids, turn 1. At the start of turn 1 for the Tyranids, we have gotten a good selection of secondaries drawn from the deck. So we need to claim battlefield supremacy, raise a banner, and storm a hostile objective marker. So definitely asking us to go towards the middle. We decided to keep all those, but we did maintain ourselves at 10 command points for using rapid regeneration on the Hive Tyrant to bring him up to 3 wounds remaining. So just trying to hold on a little bit longer with our Warlord. Speaking of the Hive Tyrant, he gave his buff to the Hormagaunts, while the Termagants in front of the Turbigon were given her buff, and a new unit of 10 was spawned on the objective to take the place of the warriors that died. That is everything. The Neurothrope did give himself the 3d6, drop the lowest for Psychic. So hoping to start taking some wounds off of probably the Scout Sentinel in the Psychic phase, while the Exocrine and 2 remaining Gargoyles move on out to clear the field. So with that, we're going to go through the movement phase and then get back to you at the start of Psychic. Here we are at the end of the movement phase. 3 CP have been used for bounding advance on the Hormagaunts and opportunistic advance on the Termagants to claim these 2 no man's land objectives. We've also gotten ourselves the 3rd no man's land objective with 2 Gargoyles. We're going to use raise the banner to claim that for the Tyranids. We've also moved on up with just about everything. The Turbigon did advance, but she got herself into a good position where she should be pretty well hidden. I can probably just move her a little bit further away so that if either of the tanks are alive at the end of the turn, they'll be a little bit harder to see. And then on this flank, the hardest specs, Hormagaunts and Hive Tyrant, have simply moved on up, trying to secure this flank. With that, we're ready to go on into the Psychic phase. We're going to start off with the Hive Tyrant, and they are going to start off with Synaptic Lure. Getting a 5/7 will make it, basically giving us a free reroll against this squad of Guardsmen. And with only 3 wounds left, you know what, we'll risk it for a smite, just to try to soften up that Chimera a little bit longer, with a 1 and a 2. Alright, so that's a fail, but did not do anything, or didn't have any bad things happen there. Next up is Turbigon, just going to try to throw Catalyst on her babies with a 10. Easy. And then finally we'll go to the Psychic Scream and 3d6 Smite for the Neurothrope. So we'll start off with Smite, getting it with a 7. That will be a die that is really stuck in there, so I have no idea what that is. So 2 wounds off that right there. And then with a Psychic Scream for a 10, will be another D3 mortals for another 1 mortal wound onto the Scout Sentinel. And that should just about do it for the movement phase. And with that, we will go on into shooting. Starting off the shooting phase, we're going to go with the Exocrine. 1 CP has been spent bringing the Tyranids down to 6 on Observer Organism. So no cover and exploding 6s to hit against this Chimera, which is going to be the one that the Engine Seer gave the 5-up invuln to, but we're hoping that's not going to be enough. So D3 plus 6 hits for max shots, so 9 shots and exploding 6s. So our 9 shots on 3s, so a 1 and a 2. And another 6 right there. Strength 8, wounding on 3s. Ooh, almost a full house of wounds. Ooh, a lot of 5 and 6s there. Then -4 AP should go right on through armor. So this will just be the 5-ups. Ooh, but a good show of saves. Ooh, really good show of saves from the 5-up. And 3 go through. 3 damage a time will be 9 damage onto the Chimera from the Exocrine. Couple of plank shots came out from the rest of the Tyranid guns. The freshly spawned Termagants and the Turbigon were able to take a couple more wounds off the Sentinel, bring it down to 2 remaining. The tongue of the Haruspex didn't do anything, and our final shots will be the 20, or the 18 now, squad of Termagants firing on over, and we will go and try to chip some wounds off of this lead Leman Russ. So 18 of the shots are going to go in there, and then we will come back after the shooting phase has been finished and come back as we start charging in. We took a single wound off of that Leman Russ, and we will be going on into the charge phase. We're going to start off with the Exocrine, trying to bomber rush this Scout Sentinel, just try to get it out of the way. On a 7, he'll make it in. Won't go too far to still be blocking the Neurothrope. Then we'll do the Haruspex into the Chimera. On an 8, he will definitely make it in. And then finally, what we're going to do is we are going to go to the Hormigants, and they will go into this Synaptic Lured squad, who will spend the CP to Overwatch, so I will do that. But while we're on the chargers, a 10-inch charge, so definitely don't need the Synaptic Lure reroll, but we will see what they can do with Overwatch. The Hormigants have moved on in, and moved in such a way that the Commissar was not able to intervene, so we are just going to start off with them, since the only other fights are vehicles against big monsters. So the Hormigants are going to start with the Guardsman, and hopefully take them off the field in a short fashion. With 18 wounds going through from the Hormigants, we have handily removed that squad of infantry, and we've also piled into the Tank Commander and the lone Leman Russ. So they'll be able to try to grind us down in melee back, but I have a feeling I won't particularly care. Then we're going to go on to the other attacks. We'll go with the Haruspex first. So we are going to use our Shoveling Claws. So with 5 attacks with the Shoveling Claws. On 3s. Oof, jeepers. Alright, so only 2 hits. We're only at 6 CP left. I don't think we are too fussed about that, even though it's not great. So strength 14, so wounding on 2s. 2 wounds, minus 3 will go to 6s. And save 1, so that'll be D3 plus 3 damage for a total of 6 damage onto the Chimera from the Haruspex. Then the attacks from Exocrine, 3 attacks with his powerful limbs. So 3 attacks on 3s. 1 will go through on strength 7, so on a 3. Makes it minus 1 going to 5 up, and the Sentinel will make it. So that will definitely be kind of a less than ideal attack from the 2 monsters. But then we'll do the attacks back from the vehicles, and then wrap up turn 1. 1 Hormigant was squished beneath the treads of the Leman Russ, but other than that, no damage taken by the Tyranids in the fight phase. In terms of secondaries, we have 3 objective markers, so we claim battlefield supremacy. The 2 gargoyles are able to raise the banner, and we've also stormed that objective in the center. So while we definitely did get the short end of the stick and a lot of our assets being killed in turn 1, a good start for secondaries with the Tyranids for a full 15, as well as claiming an objective that our enemy was on for 3 primary. That's going to be 18-7 at the end of round 1. So it looks like it is going to be a bad meet in the middle. But now we will see what the Imperial Guard can do as we strike back in turn 2. As we start round 2 and turn 2 for the Imperial Guard, we go up to 11 victory points and 12 CP, as we have pulled overwhelming firepower on top of assassination and no prisoners. So we have a good hand of secondaries in terms of making sure that we can kill what we want to kill, or what we need to kill rather. In terms of positioning and orders, the company command squad has ordered take aim onto the field ordnance battery and the squad of infantry here. For mechanized orders, gunner's kill on sight has been ordered to the quad plasma gunner, who is going to again receive the 5-up feel no pain, as is the chimera that's left on 2 wounds remaining. The Cadian Castellan Warlord has issued first rank fire, second rank fire on this squad to hopefully allow them to start taking down some of the squads. And that'll do it for the command phase. So the orders are probably going to be fall back in certain places and push forward in others, so that we can continue to claim good position on the field. At the end of the movement phase, here's how the board is looking. I decided to leave the Leman Russ in melee with the Hormagaunts, hoping that this squad that disembarked can charge on in and help clear them out a little bit in melee between the shots of the Leman Russ and the Commissar going into them. We also have fallen back with this Chimera so that the horror specs could be dealt with if needed. Back here, the home field objective is staying held down, while one squad got out of their Chimera to help bolster the forces on this home field, or this midfield objective, while the injured Chimera is chugging along closer towards enemy lines. And this now empty Chimera is going around to start getting into the backfield. The second Scout Sentinels also fallen back into the Tyranids deployment to try messing up the objective marker in the back, or just become a nuisance. Try to distract and soak up a free smite or something. With that, that is going to be everything in terms of movement. So next, we're going to go on to what the Guard do best, and that is shooting. We're going to start off quickly the shooting phase with the heavy flamer from the Sentinel into the 2 remaining gargoyles. And that is quite cocked as I knock one off the base. That's going to be 4 shots from the flamer. And then 2 wounds will equal 1 more taken off the field. Then next up, what we're going to do is we are going to fire everything from this infantry squad into the Exocrine, using the crack missile from the missile launcher and from the grenade launcher into the Exocrine. Just checking stat blocks off camera, and I did catch that the 6-up would not be enough to save the second gargoyle, so I removed that. That's going to be 1 tally for overwhelming firepower. Speaking of overwhelming firepower, we were able to actually take a wound off the Exocrine with the las guns of the disembarked squad. Now we are going to be doing the heavier weapons. So the crack missile from the missile launcher will hit on a 5, and then strength 8, toughness 8, so on a 4 to wound. Makes it -2 AP, will be a 4-up save for the Exocrine. Makes it. And then going to the grenade launcher, we'll fire a crack grenade for a 4 to hit, and then a 5 to wound. Does not wound there. So that'll take that out of the fray. So we got more wounds with our las guns than with the heavy weapons. Then we will move on to the Chimera over here, who I do not believe has line of sight on anybody. They do not. So he is just going to be moving around and setting up for next turn. This Chimera will have line of sight, and it will dump everything it's got into the Exocrine. Again, it was somehow the las guns that took the single wound off of the Exocrine here. Nothing else went through or did damage from the Chimera. And next up, we are going to go to the Bombast field guns. And what we're actually going to do is we are going to use them for their out of line of sight shooting into the termagants. So the take aim will essentially allow us to ignore the penalties of indirect fire, thankfully. And with full blast, it'll be 12 shots on 4s. We'll use one of our rerolls here. Does not make a difference there, unfortunately. And then this will be choose to kill. So that will be, or not kill, but that will be 5 that need to rely on their catalyst saves. So 1 dead, 2 dead, 3 dead, 4 dead. Alright, so 4 dead. That does kill one of them, or Catalyst did save one of them, rather. So 4 of them taken off of the field. And I will now use Overlapping Fields of Fire for 2 CP. Let's see if the 5-up CP gets me any. It does not. So 2 CP spent, bringing us down to 10 to reroll all of our wounds of 1. And 6s to wound will be an additional AP to try to get as many of these termagants off the field as possible in this turn. After we have ordered Overlapping Fields of Fire, the next unit to shoot is going to be this Leman Russ, who is going to be able to shoot his turret weapon into the termagants. So we are going to... We won't overcharge here since it's already damaged 2. So D6 plus 3. That'll be a 3. We should still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yep, so it'd still be full blast anyway. So 9 shots from the turret weapon. -1 to hit, since we are firing out of combat on the turret weapon, but back up to 4s. So 4s, rerolling 1s, thanks to the Gunner's Kill on Sight order, will get us an extra hit. And strength 7 into the termagants will be... a full house of hits, thanks to Overlapping Fields of Fire being a reroll wounds of 1. So that is 7 wounds at 2 damage a time. So 1 saves, 1 dead, 2 dead, 3 dead, 4 dead, 5 dead, and 6 dead. So the very first one was able to save itself, but that will be 6 more of them dead from 1 tank. Just taking a close look, this squad of infantry is almost out of line of sight of the Termagant, so we're actually going to go with them next. 6 of the las guns are able to fire into the Termagants, and then I'm going to have both of the heavy weapons try to reach on out and take the Hive Tyrant out, since we are still trying to fish for assassination, and that'll be hopefully slightly easier than taking out a full wounds horror specs for overwhelming firepower. I did finally get the last wounds on no prisoners, so that bumped us up to 16 VP right now. So we will fire off this squad of infantry next. 2 more Termagants dead from the las gun shots. Next up, we're going to do the missile launcher, starting off with the crack missile. So on A4, we'll use our regimental reroll there. Misses, unfortunately. Next, the grenade launcher, and we will go with a crack grenade. Hits. Gaining 5 to wound. Wounds. So a grenade launcher, -1 AP, will be a fail on the Hive Tyrant. Again, we're still only on 6 CP, and it's a 1 out of 3 chance to actually kill here. So D3 damage will go on through to the Hive Tyrant. Alright, for only 1 damage, so he will still be alive, but taken down a little bit lower. So that squad has fired. Next up, what we are going to do is we will go with this squad. All of their last shots are going to go into the remaining Termagants, and the heavy weapons will continue trying to finish off the Hive Tyrant. The Acadians, or the infantrymen, were able to take another 2 of the Termagants off the board. Next up, we are going to be doing the las cannon and plasma gun. We will start off with the las cannon into the Hive Tyrant on a 1, and we'll use our reroll there for the squad, which will not do it. The plasma gunner is probably not in rapid fire range. Nope, definitely not. Just the 1 shot from the plasma gun will overcharge the plasma gun. Why not? Hits on a 6. Then a regular plasma gun overcharged is strength 8. 1 to wound. We will, you know what that is, it's going to be a tough one to do, but we'll try to reroll it and reroll it into a fail. Let's see if the relic at least, or not relic, warlord trait saves us a CP at least. It does not, so we are down to 8. So that squad has completely fired. The Chimera fell back and therefore cannot shoot. So I think the last guns will have to be the Demolisher Cannon for the Tank Commander, going into those final Termagants, and the last cannon will go into the Hormigons, just try to blow 1 off the table. With nothing else off the table, we did kill 2 more of the Termagants, so almost got them down, but the Termagant's probably going to be able to respawn most of the ones that we just killed. We'll go into the charge phase. We are going to spend the life of the Chimera to try to drive into the Exocrine. On an 8, we will make it in. I think the Exocrine will try to spend a CP to Overwatch, so we will perform Overwatch into the Chimera. Then only other thing we have is going to be this infantry squad trying to start cutting down the Hormagaunts. On a 7, they'll make it in, and the Commissar will also try to make it in. On a 4, he'll make it in. So we'll do the Overwatch of the Exocrine and then come back in the fight phase. No damage, or no hits even, from the Overwatch of the Exocrine. So we are going to start off with the infantry squad going into the Hormagaunts, just to try to make sure that the only good interrupt does not happen. So we will hit with everything that we can into the Hormagaunts. 4 Hormagaunts were taken out by the infantry squad, and at this point I think it would be in the best interest of the Hive Fleet to interrupt, so we'll spend 2 CP for the Hormagaunts to fight, and they'll split their attacks as many as they can into the infantry, as many as they can into the Commissar, and then the rest will go into the tanks. So we'll do all those split shots or split attacks into the Guardsman and then get back to you after they interrupt, and then at the end of the fight phase, most likely, since the rest of the combats likely aren't to do much. At the end of the fight phase, the Hormagaunts have taken 5 casualties. There's only the heavy weapons squad left in this infantry squad, and it was a stalemate between the Chimera and the Exocrine. So in terms of morale, the Hormagaunts have lost 5. +2 will beat their leadership, so that is going to be 1 more running away, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13 for morale purposes. The infantry squad would also have to roll forward morale, but even if they roll anything other than a 1, because the Commissar is close by, he would summary execute one of them, which doesn't really make sense, because if they would be summary executed, one of them would have to die, and then he would die. But that's not how it works, so that is just automatically passing morale. And then we will have a total of 3 more, since we're not below half strength, of the Hormagaunts run away for morale. And in terms of secondaries, we already scored no prisoners. We were not able to kill more than 1 unit in overwhelming firepower. And at this point, I think we'll get rid of assassination, just to try to free it up a bit more. At the end of my turn, I control an objective that I did not control. Yep, I control this objective, so that will boost me for 2 CP. Or not 2 CP, 2 VP. And we did destroy a unit that was in range of an objective, so we'll actually get both of the mission-specific things for the primary for direct assault. So that'll bring us up to 19 victory points as we go into Tyranids turn 2. Turn 2 with the bugs. We are currently on 21, since we only have our 1 home field objective marker right now. We did keep all 3 of our secondaries, but we spent our CP on rapid regeneration to bring the Hive Tyrant back up to 5 wounds. So he is hanging in there quite remarkably well. We also have to assassinate a character, extend our battle lines, and claim a tempting target. Tempting target is this objective that's pretty well surrounded by the Cadians, or not the Cadians, the Guardsmen. So that one might not be doable this turn. For our Synaptic Imperative, I went for Psychic Augmentation. I was going to do the one for the Warriors, but they're not here. You can't claim it, or you can't do it if that model or that unit still isn't here. So my Psychic is going to hopefully be a bit better this turn. We will also go through the rest of the command phase. Turbigon's going to give her babies up here again the buff of +1 to hit, and I will spawn Termagants into that unit. So 2d6 Termagants back, hoping for a big one. For 8 more Termagants, bring back up to a unit of 8. Seems pretty good to me. And then anything else in terms of command phase. Yep, the Neurothrope will buff himself. Hive Tyrant doesn't have anybody in range to buff. So with that, we'll go through movement and then get back to you at the start of Psychic. At the start of the Psychic phase, we have continued to push forward, so it seems like we're kind of swirling in this direction with most of the Tyranids, while the Imperial Guard are able to start claiming this side of the battlefield pretty scot-free. With that, however, I'm going to keep the Ripper Swarms in my back pocket, see what tricks I can do with them next turn, since it does seem like I have a big pocket in the backfield of both objectives, or both deployment zones to play with if needed. We're going to start off with a Smite from the Neurothrope. There's going to be a total of +2 to the dice. So with a 6, a 1, and a... Oh, I forgot there was a die back there, so I don't know which one of those I rolled. So I'll roll whatever this is. So that's going to be a 6, 8, 10. So unfortunately, still just a regular Smite. Hoping for big numbers. 1 mortal wound onto the Chimera. And then a Psychic Scream yet again, just trying to kill it as best we can. Ugh, that would have been nice for a Smite. But another D3 mortals for another mortal. Only 3 wounds remaining there. Only 2 done with Psychic, unfortunately. We will now go on to the Turbigon, doing Catalyst. On double 6s, we will let that one go through. And then with Catalyst on, we are going to go on to... We're actually going to put Catalyst onto the Hive Tyrant, just keep him alive a little bit longer. D3 mortals on myself. 2 mortals. And 2 mortals it shall be. Then final Psyker will be... We'll start off with Synaptic Lure from the Hive Tyrant. On a 2, 2, and on a 5, I make it. So I am going to Synaptic Lure the Commissar. And then just real quick, do a Smite. On a 10, that'll Smite and take this 1 wound heavy weapon squad off the field. So, was hoping to have that Chimera in melee with the Exocrine gone by now from Psychic, but c'est la vie. And we will go on to the shooting phase with the Tyranids. Starting off the shooting phase, thought I would do the tongue of the Haruspex off camera since it probably wasn't going to do anything. And lo and behold, it did in fact take 3 damage off of that Chimera that it is going to be in melee with. So surprise, surprise there. In terms of other shooting, we're going to have the Turbigon and this back squad of Termagants go on and fire into this Scout Sentinel. And then these 10 Termagants actually probably might not have anything to shoot at. If they are in range, they're going to fire into that infantry squad. If not, looks like their shots aren't going to do anything, since we still have these 2 tanks wrapped up in melee. So I'll measure that out, and then get back to you at the start of one of those units shooting. Yes, it looks like 8 of the 10 termagants in this unit are in fact going to be in range of the infantry in that ruin. So we are going to be hitting on 3s thanks to the Turbigon's buff. And then strength 5 -1, so 5 up saves. So we will plink a single guardsman off from that squad. Then we're going to go on to this squad in the home field ruin. 10 shots into the scout sentinel. This one's going to be hitting on 4s. And then on 5s to wound. 2 wounds at -1. 5 up saves. Make 1, fail 1. Bring him down to 1. And we will continue to try to get rid of this pesky, pesky sentinel with the stinger salvos of good old Turby, the Turbigon. On 3s. 6 hits. And then on 5s to wound. 2 wounds at -1. And we got him. So that will not be an explosion, thankfully, but we will take that annoying sentinel off the field. And with that, it will actually be the end of the shooting phase, since the Exocrine is still, unfortunately, locked in combat, and the big gun is blast and can't be fired. So we will go on to Chargers next with the Tyranids. In the charge phase, we're quite obviously going to start off with the horror specs into this Chimera, and with a 12, we will actually be able to just sneak through with all of our muscle mass, since I'm just counting it as the base. Then the Hive Tyrant's going to go and try for the Tank Commander and the Commissar, needing an 8 to make it into both. Rerollable with Synaptic Lure. And with a 4 and double 6, we'll take the Hive Tyrant into melee with those 2 characters. So that will hopefully take care of our assassination right there. To start out the fight phase, we are going to have the Hive Tyrant direct all of his attacks into the Commissar. Now, all that might not be the highest threat target with the Hormagaunts and the Hive Tyrant in melee with the Tank Commander. He's probably not going to be too much of a threat anytime soon. Maybe his Las Cannon gets lucky next turn, but I should hopefully be able to save some from Catalyst. And the Commissar is an easy pick off for assassination. So with that, we're going to do the 5 attacks for the Lash Whip and Bone Sword. So hitting on 3s, re-rolling my 1 thanks to having my Lash Whip. So it'll be all 5 hits. And my Bone Sword will be strength 10, so wounding on 2s. So 4 wounds going through against his 5-up invuln, and that will quite easily take him out. So that'll take the orders off of this side of the field and score us 5 points for assassination. I guess I didn't say that. Actually, the tail now isn't a separate attack, it's just re-rolling hits or wounds, so that won't do anything there. With that all said and done, we can probably safe to say that the other melee attacks are going to go as expected. Haruspex is probably going to remove the Chimera. Hormagaunts aren't going to do much. Maybe 1 or 2 is going to get squished, so we will come back to you after the rest of the fight phase concludes. Rest of the fight phase went as expected. Nothing happened between the Hormagaunts and the tanks. The Chimera actually did manage to take a single wound off of the Exocrine, though, so that was a bit surprising in terms of secondaries. We will score extend battle lines for another 5 points. And we'll get rid of attempting target, since we are kind of seeing that our forces on this flank aren't really going to be pushing through anytime soon. So that brings the score up to 31 for the Tyranids to 19 for the Imperial Guard. So still a good score lead for the Tyranids. So we will have to see whether they can continue to push on through for the Guards next turn, or whether we can start blasting some bugs off of the table. So with that, we're going to go on to battle round 3 as we start with the Imperial Guard. Round 3 for the Guard, we gain 8 on primary for a total of 27 right now. Our secondaries were interesting. I almost kept captured enemy outpost, but I have denied it or thrown away for area denial. We also need to get behind enemy lines and continue to show overwhelming firepower here. So unfortunately, we do have most of our heavy weapons kind of bogged down a bit. So I think we are finally going to have to start falling back with some of the vehicles. With that, however, we will definitely have a good fire base of support. We have take aim on the field ordnance battery and the infantry squad down here. We have gunner's kill on sight onto the quad plasma tank, but I think he's going to fall back, as well as the tank commander. And we also have take aim here from the warlord onto the objective, or not the objective holders, the infantry squad. And speaking of the warlord, let's see if, nope, so the new order CP was not refunded. So again, that warlord trait continues to not do much for me. With that, we are going to go through our movement phase, and we will come back at the start of shooting. Alrighty, so we are going to try to get tricky in the shooting phase. So a lot of our vehicles did have to fall back. The tank commander and the Leman Russ are no-goes when it comes to shooting, unfortunately, but that does open up the Hormagaunts and the Hive Tyrant to everybody else. The the Chimera back here has also fallen back, so that the Exocrine is now exposed for some more shooting. Our sneaky Chimera is also in the back, and our 6th and final infantry squad has moved on back to secure us behind enemy lines. So we are going to be able to get 5 points right there, bringing the Guard up to 32 with 5 more secondary. We do have Relentless Ferocity active for the Synaptic Imperative for the bugs, but hopefully we are going to aim for the Hive Tyrant dying and not allowing them access to that any longer. So with that, we're going to get right into it with shooting. We are going to start off with the Field Ordnance Battery, and they are going to start the show trying to take out the Hive Tyrant. 2d6 shots for the bombast guns with a total of 7. We'll take it. So 2, 5, and 7 shots with take aim on, so that will be +1 to hit, so hitting on 3s. We'll use our 1 free reroll to get a full house. Bombast guns are strength 7, so wounding on 4s. And that will be 4 at AP -3. So going to our 4th invuln save for the leader bug. And that is going to be 2 damage a time. So that is going to be 8 damage if I don't do anything. 6 damage if I reroll and save it. So I think I am going to hope that Catalyst is able to do a little bit more than it should. And I will save the CP. So 8 catalyst saves, 8 5-ups. Ooh, it's good, but it's exactly enough to bring the Hive Tyrant down. So that will take one of the big bugs off the field, take us up to 2 on overwhelming firepower, and get rid of the Synaptic Imperative, as well as one of the big links of the chain for Synapse. So that is a big blow to the Tyranids. That might be a big turning point right there. Next up at the OK Corral is going to be this squad of infantry. They're going to fire all of their las guns into the Hormagaunts, and then the las cannon and the plasma gunner are both going to go into the Haruspecs. Plasma gunner is going to overcharge as well, so we will do the las shots into the Hormagaunts off camera and show you what the big guns can do to big greedy gobbler over here. 2 Hormagaunts taken down by las shots. Now we're going to start off with the plasma gunner overcharging. So 1 shot on a 3, then on a 4 to wound, makes it. So -3 AP will take him up to a 5-up save, and a 6. So he makes it with the plasma. Now the las cannon, 1 shot, hopefully 1 kill, wounding on a 3. And thanks to Regimental Standard, we can reroll wounds of 1, which I do remember this game. Or I'm trying to remember this game at least. So 1 wound at -3. Alright, and then with D6 going through, I think the Hive Mind will... Yes, I think I will try to re-roll this for the Hive Mind and be vindicated. So we will go down to only 1 CP remaining for the Tyranids, but that takes the heavy weapon out of that squad. So we're going to do the exact same thing here. Say we have 1 less las gun to shoot, all the little guns into the Hormagaunts, and then the heavy weapons into the Haruspecs. So right now we have 1 more Hormagaunt down. The plasma gunner rolled double 6s to hit, so we ended up taking 2 wounds from the plasma gun. We did have to reroll the wound on the las cannon, and of course the 5-up CP regen didn't do anything again. Why would it? But we do have a single wound having gone through for the las cannon. So another 5-up for the Haruspecs. And he makes it again. So this is 1 lucky bug. So with that, both the Leman Russes fell back. We're going to do the command squad, their guns that can see and reach. Any las guns that can see, or anyway, the Haruspecs, or into the Hormagaunts rather. And then if the plasma's in range of the Haruspecs, we'll also shoot and overcharge into him. The Haruspecs took another overcharged plasma gun shot to the face, bringing him down to 11. The plasma pistol from the leader in the officer squad was able to take 1 more down. So we've lost 4 of the Hormagaunts. Neither of these tanks are able to attack here. So we are essentially done with this back flank. Now what we're going to do is we are going to swing on out to this side. What I'm going to have us do is this squad of infantry and the heavy flamer are going to all go into the Exocrine, while the Chimera is going to try to sneak in some wounds for the Neurothrope. And then finally trying to get our 3rd and final tally for overwhelming firepower. We are going to try to blast everything that we can into the 10-man Termagant squad to try to take them off of the board. So that is everything that we are going to shoot. I'll come back in terms of heavy weapons into the Exocrine, but then I'll do the heavy flamer and last shots into him off camera. So far, we've taken 1 wound off with the heavy flamer and 1 wound off with las shots. Next up, we're going to start off with the missile launcher, firing a crack missile. So on a 4-up, hits, and then for the wound will be an unsuccessful wound. Then finally, the grenade launcher into the Exocrine. We'll fire a crack grenade. Takes a hit, and 5 to wound. Won't make it, so that'll be everything there. Next up, what we're going to do is we are going to take all the shots here, fire it into the termagants, try to take them out. So I still have the weapon profile page open. So what I'll do is I will start off with the grenade launcher doing a frag grenade, so D6 shots. So the full 6 for 5 and 6. 2 hits, and then 3 against 3, so forced to wound. 1 wound, 1 fail, so 1 termagant dead. Then the missile launcher will shoot a frag missile, so D6 with a minimum of 3, thanks to still having more than 6 in the squad. We'll use our free roll reroll here. 2 hits, wounding on 3s. And then 2 saves will be 1 more dead. And then finally it will be the 13 las shots from the remaining las guns and las pistol. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 las shots on 4s. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to wipe the squad by any means, but start trying to take him out. 3 armor saves will be 2 more gone. That'll be a total of 4 of them done. And I don't think charging in would be a good idea, because we would have to deal with the Lictor as well. Although really, realistically, we're probably going to have him come trying to take us out anyway. So that will be it for infantry squad there. Our last shots will be this empty chimera into the zoanthrope. Then we will come back to you at the end of the turn. We're actually not going to end the turn there, even though we were almost successful in killing the neurothrope with the chimera. Lucky heavy bolter shot went through. We are actually going to charge in the Scout Sentinel into the Exocrine with a 9-incher. We'll make it in. 2 attacks will hit. Neither will wound. 3 attacks from the Exocrine. 1 will wound and do 2 damage. So we did take some damage onto the Scout Sentinel, but now the Exocrine's tied up again in shooting, so he is going to still be shut down, essentially making it just the neurothrope able to do damage on this flank. So right now we have overwhelming firepower left at 2, area denial. We do have a lot in the center of the board, so we're actually going to throw that one away for the guard. And that will be it for the turn. Although these guys are probably not in range of Synapse, so 4 plus 6 will be 10, making them liable to run away, as I don't have any dice. Where am I? There we are. I only have 3 dice left on this side of the table, so 2, 3 more will run away, leaving only 2 of them on the field after that failed morale. So with that, we will end turn 3 for the Guard and go into Tyranids turn 3. As we begin turn 3 with the Tyranids, we have gone up to 39 points on the primary and secondary. Our secondaries were also pretty good. Blood Guts, kill in melee, grind them down, and secure no man's land. So we kept our CP. We didn't get any new orders, but we did spend it on 2 more wounds for the Neurothrope, trying to allow him to be a bit better in terms of surviving whatever these Guardsmen are going to throw out at us. He gave himself 3d6, dropped the lowest for Psychic. The Turbigon has given her Brood +1 to hit, and is going to spawn in 5 more bodies into the squad. That will be it in terms of command phase, so we will continue to move the hordes around and get back to you as the psychic phase begins. And the Tyranids continue to try to cover the board with their bodies. We spent our last CP on opportunistic advance to move the Termagants all the way up the field. The Haruspex also working his way up the field. At the end of the movement phase, the Ripper Swarms have come up onto this no man's land objective, while the Lictor and Tervigon are moving this way. The Neurothrope has also moved on forward to hopefully, or definitely, take out this Scout Sentinel, so that the Exocrine can shoot backwards into this Chimera, and then that'll do it for the movement phase. In Psychic, we'll start the turn off with the Brain Bugs blasting him. So on a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, it'll be D3 wounds. So 1 more wound will bring him up to 3 wounds taken, and then finally Psychic Scream will be an 11 for the final wound, so that will take the Sentinel off the field. He will not explode. So Neurothrope is done. Turbigon's just going to try to cast Catalyst on herself. Gets it with a 9. Then that'll be it for Psychic. Shooting phase will probably be pretty quick. The biggest contender is going to be the Exocrine, who is going to start us off by trying to take this Chimera in the back off the field. So D3 plus 6 for 8 shots. 2, 4, 6, and 8 shots on 3s. Strength 8, so wounding on 3s will be 4 wounds at -4. So 4 will go right on through. 4 times 3 is 12. Chimeras have 11 wounds, so that will be the Chimera out. And it will explode. If it does reach, it's just a D3, I'm sure, so, or 3-inch explosion, so that's the Chimera down as well. So the Exocrine finally showing why I was throwing so many bodies and tanks at it, as it easily removes the Chimera in 1 round of shooting. In the backfield, as we continue the shooting phase, the Turbigon and her Termagants were able to take some more of the Guardsmen back here down. So 3 wounds done to them as the Lictor eyes up the charge into them. With the rest of the shooting phase, all we have left is the Termagants, and the Termagants are going to go ahead and try to thin out as much as they can on the back lines. So what they're going to do is they are going to try to take down this infantry squad next to the Cadian Castellan. That way there is 1 less good squad going into them with orders. 4 guardsmen fell from the flesh spurs of the gaunts. And with that, we are done with the shooting phase. So we are going to go on and charge on in with the Haruspex into this front. Leman Russ, who is obviously going to overwatch and choose to overcharge all of his guns, trying to take him down in shooting. The other chargers will be the Turbigon into this Chimera, and the Lictor on into that back infantry squad. So I will resolve the overwatch from the tank and then charge on in with no possible reroll. So what the bugs get is what the bugs get. So it was an interesting overwatch. The plasma took 4 mortal wounds off of the tank, but in exchange it did bring the Haruspex down to 8 wounds remaining. Probably not enough to keep it alive, but alas, the Turbigon and Lictor also made it in with their combats. So all of the chargers were successful. And we're going to start it off with the Lictor going into the Guardsman, just to make sure that he is not interrupted. So 6 attacks on 2s will be 5 hits. And then strength 7, wounding on 2s. So 4 wounds at -3 will take 4 of them off the field. And with that, nobody else is going to want to interrupt from the guard, so we will go on through the fights with the 2 remaining big bugs, and then the slapbacks of any guardsmen or vehicles that are still alive. After they attacked, the Turbigon killed the final Chimera, bringing us to a total of 3 on Grind Them Down and 1 on Blood and Guts. We brought the Leman Russ down to 5 wounds and took no damage, or no further damage in return for the Haruspex. The 3 remaining guardsmen were not able to hurt the Lictor at all, so that will do it for the fight phase. Morale before we go, 4 plus 6 is 10. So that will be 1 fleeing and the other 2 staying for the guardsmen at the back here. And then the guardsmen high on the tower, 4 plus 4 is 8. And the sergeant's leadership is 7. Does the Castellan allow anything to help there? No, he does not, unfortunately. So that is going to be 1 running away. And then on 1s and 2s, that will just leave us with the Las Cannon team high in the tower to receive the Cadian Castellan's orders. So it looks like the guardsmen are starting to lose their nerve. We did secure No Man's Land, so that's another secondary. We've got a good tally on Grind Them Down, and a lot of assets for the guard are taken off the field. So with that, we are ready to go into Battle Round 4 and see how the Cadians are able to continue mowing through the bugs, or whether good times are about to stop. Battle Round 4 starts with the Imperial Guard going up to 40 on our score. We have gotten overwhelming firepower, raise banner, and defend stronghold after choosing to discard Grind Them Down, since the Tyranids are probably going to score that one. We just want to try to kill where we need to and not kill willy-nilly. The Command Squad over here has issued Take Aim to the Field Ordnance Battery and the Infantry Squad. And this lone Guardsman team with the Las Cannon will also be ordered to take aim. That way they can hopefully start bringing some of the bigger targets down. With that, that is everything in the command phase. So we are going to go on into movement and see how we can maneuver what we need to do for the Guardsman. In the shooting phase, we are going to have this front be all quiet as the Guardsmen over here sell their lives to raise another banner. And the Engineers move to block the Turbigon from swooping in and getting into our home field advantage. The quadruple plasma tank has fallen back, only got 1 wound back from the Engineer, who has moved up to potentially help kill the Haruspex. And the Leman Russ commander is also moving up to make sure that he is slowed down, while the Castellan is just moving down to maybe in the final turn get somewhere. I don't really know what I plan on doing with him, in all honesty. He's kind of too little too late to go try to rejoin anyone. And the one Leman Russ, or not Leman Russ, the one las cannon over here just stood still so that he can hopefully fall and, or not fall back, fire into the Haruspex. So with the guys over here doing the action, the majority of what we're going to do is just over here with the tank and our home field objective holders. So we are going to start off with some chip fire. I'm just going to do the las cannon real quick off camera. And then we will start with the field ordnance battery next. With the help of a reroll, we were able to take 3 wounds off of the Haruspex over here with the lone las cannon team. So down to 3 CP, because of course I didn't regenerate either of them. So I'm actually going to have the field ordnance guns go into the gaunts right here, since I am going to be able to see them since I'm in the ruins. So that's going to be 12 shots, essentially going right through to kill from the bombast field guns. So 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, and 12 shots on 3s. We'll reroll one of them to get another hit. And then 2s to kill. So that will be 3, 6 of the gaunts taken out. And then our next attacks will go from this squad of infantrymen. The heavy weapons are going to go into the Haruspex, and the las guns into the remainder of the gaunts. Finally, we have finally gotten the Haruspex down. He has only 1 wound remaining. So my next shots are going to be the tank commander, his demolisher into the gaunts, and the las cannon into the Haruspex. I'm going to do the las cannon on camera, since this is the one I'll reroll if I need to, but I don't need to. 3 to wound, makes it. And then 5 up or death for the Haruspex. Will not make it. Does he go kablooey? He does not. So that will be Haruspex taken off the table. 5 points for overwhelming firepower, bringing us up to 45. And then I will finish it up with the Demolisher Cannon into the gaunts. Another 5 taken off the board. Our final shots are going to be from the command squad. Everything that they've got is going to go into the 4 remaining gaunts to make sure that we can definitely defend the stronghold, not overcharging the plasma gun or the plasma pistol. So we will try to shoot these bugs off the table, and then that will basically be it for the turn. Unless we want to charge into those 2 Hormagaunts in the middle of the field, but we'll see how we feel about that. 2 gaunts remain on the field after the command squad finished firing at them, And that's going to do it for shooting phase, and I actually do think I will try to charge onto this middle objective. First with the Engine Seer on a 3, doesn't make it, and then with the Tank Commander on a 9. And you know what, just because I think it'd be funny to imagine this, we will say that I've ordered myself to crush them. We'll bring it down to 1 CP, or down 1 CP, so that I am hitting on 3 up, or 4 up, sorry. No, wait. Tank Commander has armored, I believe. Yes, he does have armored, because I bought track guards for him. So 3 up to attack. 6 attacks into the 2 gaunts on 3s. And on modified wounds of 6, I will do an additional mortal. So 2s to wound, hoping for 6s. So 1 mortal, and then 2 saves of a 5 up will kill 2 Hormagaunts, and the Tank Commander will proudly sit on this midfield objective, having helped kill the Haruspecs and kill the Hormagaunts. With the Tank Commander in his cupola in the middle of the field, victorious. That actually got me 3 points on the primary, thanks to controlling an objective marker I didn't at the start of the turn, and killing an enemy unit off an objective. So that will bring us up to 53. The Termagants did fail, but the remaining one is going to stick around. So we'll see what his one shot can do. The Tyranids are going to score, grind them down, bring them up to 49. So definitely keeping it a close game score-wise. But we are definitely starting to run out of assets. So we will have to see if the Guard have slowed the big bugs down long enough, or if we are starting to run out of steam as we go into Tyranids turn 4. In turn 4 with the Tyranids, we have gotten up to 57 from secondary and primary. We still have 0 CP as we traded overwhelming firepower for Defend Stronghold. We also have No Retreat, No Surrender, and Blood and Guts still. So, No Retreat, No Surrender, basically don't leave this objective or this objective, and don't fail morale, which probably shouldn't be an issue anywhere with the Tyranids right now. In terms of command phase abilities, nothing had to go out other than the 3d6 that the Neurothrope's going to continue giving himself. And with that, we're going to go through the movement and shooting phase quickly, and then come back to you in the start of fighting. After the shooting phase, here's how we look, or after the charge phase, rather. The Turbogon, Neurothrope, and Exocrine were able to remove this infantry squad off of the No Man's Land objective, while the remaining 2 that fell back were taken off from the Gaunt shooting. The Turbogon's the only threat in melee, or well, the only fight, rather. So 4 attacks going into my Engine Seer on 3s. And then on 2s to wound. So that'll be 4 at his 5 up invuln save. We'll have 3 go through. So that is going to be 6d3 damage. So plenty to take the Engine Seer out. And then move the Catalyst Turbogon out a little bit more. So another tally on Blood and Guts. We're working on No Retreat, No Surrender, and almost have Blood and Guts, so no score for the secondaries in terms of the Tyranids, so that will be perhaps a little bit risky, but we're hoping that everything we need we will get. So that's 10 points, hopefully next turn, as we go into round 5. The score is 57 for the Tyranids to 53 for the Imperial Guard. Battle round 5, turn 5 with the Imperial Guard. We've gone up to 66, and we need to extend battle lines, score, attempting target, and storm a hostile objective. So we have a attempting target of this objective marker right here. We are currently on this objective in the middle, and then the swarms are on that one. So we have bit of a pickle. We can either stay on this one and definitely get extended battle lines, or hopefully kill off the swarms on that one and get what we need. So we will come back at the end of the turn for a summary. At the end of turn 5 with the Imperial Guard, the Guard are going to end at a score of 76. We have removed the Termagant from the back. We got the Engine Seer to hold this middle objective. And between the Field Ordnance and the Demolisher, the Tank Commander was able to hold this midfield objective to score us our secondary and get us 3 points on the primary. So at this point, the Tyranids need to beat 79 in their final turn. So we will come back to you with a summary at the end of the game after we play out the final turn. And playing through the rest of the game with the Tyranids, it is going to be a victory for the Imperial Guard. We actually did more than enough on terms of secondary. We got 10 out of our 9 possible cards for secondary. However, that only brought us up to a total of 70. Had we been able to score the other card that we did, which was Blood and Guts, which we did achieve, it would have been a tie game. However, with 79 to 73, it is going to be a victory for the Imperial Guard. So definitely 2 armies with a lot of board control. A lot died. Not all that I would have thought. You know, both of the Leman Russes survived. Not very often, especially when you go against an Exocrine, that 2 Leman Russes survive. Honestly, most of the damage that one took in the back was its own fault, and the Tank Commander was able to escape scot-free. And we still have a full infantry squad. The field ordnance batteries were untouched, so it was definitely an interesting game. Having this big block in the middle where nobody could go definitely helped out the Tyranids, but the guns of the Guard and having 6 infantry as opposed to only 4 for the Tyranids allowed the humans to outswarm the swarm. So, I hope everybody enjoyed the game. Hope everybody keeps liking the videos that I'm putting out. If you do, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see all of you folks on the next battlefield of the 41st millennia.